So the time's come to start using the brush to fill in all the detail work. So we will reuse the US Intermediate blue and start stippling away. So we're gonna cover up some of the spots that the airbrush couldn't take care of, and also going to even out some of the shadow work. So I always keep a piece of paper to wipe my brush on in case I get too much paint on the brush, or if I want the paint to be a bit thinner. I'm gonna have to work with pretty non-dry paint now, because we don't want the spots to be, or the stipples to be too visible. It's gonna work in a round shaped light formation here. I'm gonna paint up onto the brighter surfaces as well to create texture there. Just gonna work around the light and into the dark. And this is something I have to build up in several layers. So one thing I have to do before I continue with that is to paint out the recessed areas. So you can use some Kalahari orange. How the paint looks I will put in the description at the start of the video, since the info text on my bottle apparently didn't get there when it was ordered. And some Scrag Brown. So I'll mix these two to get a rusty like paint. So we will continue painting down in our shades with this. This also used with a little bit of stippling technique, but this is a very loose paint, so it will flood the recessed areas. But you want to step it up on the upper surface a little bit. This is a great contrast to the blues as well. That's mainly why I use it. Creates a more interesting feel to the miniature. That makes your other work pop a little bit more. And I'm gonna skip the fingers for now. I might paint them if it's necessary. So make some stripes like this to show that dirt has stained up on the armor, and maybe it cracked a little bit. Then we can paint some small stippled dots up onto the dark surface. I don't want them to be too visible, because it's very grinded in there from all the years of use. So we want them to be real subtle, because everything will add up in the end to a natural looking worn piece of armor. You don't always want all your weathering effects to be very obvious. most dirt ain't too obvious. So I'll add a little bit on to the bright surface. Here we will have a more visible area for the rust. I will continue painting it with some other darker paints later to give it some depth. It's just a base for all the dirt and coercions. I'll take some of the blue paint again. And this one I have to work a lot with. I think this is the paint that you work the most with. Now we're gonna stipple over the surfaces we previously stippled with the intermediate blue. So what I will do here is I will make the stippling pretty rough, but we will do a little bit of a trick, and that is we have some glaze in our paints, and that makes the paint dry a lot slower, and when we use more glaze we actually dissolve the paint that's on to the mini. You can imagine that scratches forms. So what we will do, we'll take a little bit of the blue paint and we will add quite a lot of glaze to it, and then we'll start to make strokes towards the brighter surfaces, and this will dissolve the stippling a little bit, sort of smoothing it out and blending it into the armor a bit more, and also give it a very thin glazed cover to also help with the smoothness. So we'll go back a little bit too. And a good thing with all these blue paints is you don't really have to clean your brush in between. You can just wipe it off and then continue painting. So we'll even out the shades a little bit here. Starting to get some texture in there. So we'll go back with some blue again, make some final adjustments. So all these layers adds up to create the texture surface. Very, very subtle in all the details. As I said before, you don't want it to look like it's painted. You want it to be bit more natural. Duck egg green. I'll start highlighting. We'll use the same painting method here as well. Basically using the stippling and glazing method throughout the whole miniature. Don't forget to wipe off your brush to not get too much paint in there. So now I'll start reworking the Python, and I'll also start highlighting underneath the rust here, or the damage parts, sort of prepare it for some depth. The beauty with the duck egg green now is that now we have gotten all these shapes that are barely visible, and we can make them more prominent with a little bit of the duck egg green, and that will create the illusion of scratches. And keep in mind that these are not, well, they are man-made, but they are not by purpose man-made. They are made with all the different layers and the glazes, so you have no control over them. So the only thing you can do now is to just catch them with your eye and make some of them more visible. And that's a very fun part. Can be hard as well, of course. And remember not to do too much, because then it will look weird. You can see that we instantly get very cool looking texture surface. Very beaten armor. I imagine that a ceramite plating gets very scratched. Since the Terminator armor is not covered in metal, the base of the armor is metal, the rest is actually just plastic and ceramic materials. Well, the plastic is called plasteel and the ceramic is ceramite. The name gives it away pretty quickly. So I'll also give the bottom here a little bit of a highlight. And to add a little sense of depth to all the scratches and damages, we'll take some Rhinoxide. Could go with some purples as well. Rhinoxide have a little bit of purple in it. And I'll paint out depth in the damaged areas. We'll need a much smaller brush for this. Just gonna use a new type of brush that I recently bought. The DaVinci Series 36. I usually use the Series 35, and I can't really feel any difference to them, so I wonder if they're not just different brands for different countries. Sometimes brush companies do that, or companies in general. But yeah, I have to look into that a bit more. But I'm quite satisfied that there's not a big difference to the brands. Since in Swedish stores the Series 35 doesn't seem to exist, but the Series 36 is there, so it makes me a little bit suspicious. So with this we just fill in some of the damaged areas. And make a deeper recessed area as well. Can add a little bit of subtleties. Here and there. But remember to be very careful with the amount. Remember that less is more. That's a very good rule to have. I'm going to use some ivory now, and that's going to be our final highlights. I'm going to mix it in with the egg green. So I mixed the 50-50 of the ivory and the duck egg green to make a more brighter subtle paint. And I will start. Highlighting again in our stippled ways. There, we don't need much more. You want to keep the highest point of light at the top to get the sense that this is where it starts. And also gives the illusion that we have a really good depth going on down here. But still the duck egg green and the other paint still shows off all the minor details we have done to the Power Fist here. So yeah, that's basically it. It doesn't take long to paint a surface like this one, but when you're painting a whole miniature and you're really careful about it, you're gonna experience that you have to do a lot of glazes and rework with the stipple and such. Because you don't always get the right amount of paint that you want. So it can be quite frustrating to paint whole minis like this. I haven't finished my my Space Wolf Terminator yet. I wanted to talk a little bit about these kind of paint tutorials. I want to do more of these that are a little bit more in the expert level area. I do the advanced and the expert. I was thinking from the beginning to make some basic ones, but now I make some more technical videos instead that I explain about tools and stuff. That will come up. I'm planning to make one of the airbrushing to give you more in depth of how I see and use a airbrush and how I clean it and such. But the reason why I haven't been able to do much of these tutorials is because I'm in lockdown of all my commissions, and I'm seeing an end to it as the Patreon grows and my income is focused around the Patreon, and that makes me able to do more of my own work and not being locked to doing customers minis and making videos of those, because I only got that time to film and paint those minis. But when I'll reach, I hope I reach over 100 Patreons, I will be able to stop painting commissions and paint my own stuff and make videos of that instead, for much more interesting content, of course. So I will keep on working towards that goal and see to it that I can make more of these tutorials for you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.